Welcome or welcome back to this channel. It's your resident internet psychic medium and spiritual advisor, Mr. Grain, and today we're going to be talking about tarot. We're going to have a little bit of a tarot talk. Now, forgive me. It has taken me quite some time to realize the writing on the wall, which was, you guys love to talk about tarot. When I initially made the Learn Tarot videos like 4 years ago, I did not anticipate the response from it. I just thought I was going to talk about it one time and be done, but here I am, 4 years later, still talking about it. And I guess still teaching it. And so now we're going to run with it. Forgive me for my lack of wit and not catching on sooner. But now that I realize that you guys like this content, then yeah, maybe I'll do more of it. So what are we going to do today? We are going to be doing tarot FAQs. Now, I have a book coming out at the end of the year called The Fool's Guide to Tarot. And these are actually questions that I actually got. Some of them I actually polled you guys and asked a year and a half ago what your questions about tarot were. Only the funny ones made it. And because, you know, who wants to read that much information? Some of it had to be a little bit for entertainment value. But I also recognize that, like, some of these things are things that people actually thought. A lot of them are things that I used to think when I first got into tarot reading. And so I figured, let's talk about it. Let's talk about some of the taboo stuff. That way I can go ahead and debunk what you guys actually think is happening so you guys can continue on with your tarot journey. So, frequently asked question number 1, does tarot predict your future? And the answer to that is no. So first things first is that tarot is just ink, you guys. It's just ink and paper. It's a little bit of cardstock. It doesn't actually have any power by itself, but people think that it does. And so people will look at a deck of cards sitting on a table, like let's say if you go to see a psychic or something, and then there's this thing that happens in you when you're like, I don't think I should touch those. But it's just paper and ink. It has no ability to actually do anything by itself. It cannot actually predict the future. What is doing the predicting, if there's any prediction at all, is the person that's reading. But here's the thing, not everyone that reads is a psychic. I think people think that a tarot reader is a psychic and that a psychic is a tarot reader, and that is actually not the case. A tarot reader is very strictly someone that is just simply reading the cards. Now, can they be a psychic? Yes, a lot of the times they are. But I have also been around a significant amount of people that have read tarot who are not psychic, who do not consider themselves to be psychic. They just know card interpretations and they're really, really good at putting the card interpretations together. So I also know psychics who don't know how to read tarot. They're just psychic and intuitive. And so if you're in a situation where there's a prediction that's happening, what's happening is that you're dealing with the psychic, and that psychic's psychic ability and intuition is actually kicking in. But the cards themselves do not predict anything. The cards just kind of show where you're at the present moment. But it's very much in the present moment, and it's a present reading. That's why some tarot readers are like, please phrase your question in a certain way, and they like to have it phrased in the now. Some tarot readers are very explicit and they're like, I do not do predictions because that's actually not what the cards are for. Now, another question that I got was whether or not tarot was actually about dark stuff. This was actually also something that I used to be really afraid of when I first started. So when I first got into the realm of spirituality, I was convinced that like I would touch a card or see a card or be in the same room as the card and that I would leave with a spiritual attachment. I don't even think I knew what that was at that time. I just thought that that's what it was because that's what the church tells you. That's what pop culture tells you. If you watch a video or a horror movie and there's tarot cards, that's what that's showing you, and that's couldn't be farthest from the case. Tarot reading is not about dark stuff. And also, what's dark stuff? Like black magic? Like what is it specifically that you're talking about? I think that when people reference things like dark stuff, I can tell that they don't really know what they're talking about, right? When you are assuming that that's what tarot is, you don't know what you're talking about, which is okay, by the way, because it's not like you got a whole lot of people out here teaching about tarot and what it is and what it's not. You got a lot of people on the internet these days reading it, but you don't have anyone really talking about what it is and what it's not. And so when you are moving from a place of lack of knowledge, then it's really easy to start filling in the blanks, and you start filling in the blanks with pop culture and what the church has been telling you this practice actually is. It's not about anything dark. It's actually a sort of self-reflective practice. It's a practice that helps you go inside. It's very introspective. It helps you look at yourself internally, and it helps you figure out what's happening to you internally. That way you can read and understand your outside circumstances. It's a tool of self-discovery, and it's actually a tool for like spiritual growth and spiritual expansion. It is actually a very positive tool. Now, unfortunately, now, especially recently, you can see it on the internet, you have people that have taken the tool and they're now using it for personal gain. They're using it and getting dark, scary messages from it, right? And so that's probably why people think that it's about dark stuff. But there's not a card in the deck that talks about anything dark. There's not a meaning or a definition for any of the cards in the decks that actually talk about something dark. So if you are receiving readings from people and you are watching readings on the internet and they're holding cards and they're talking about dark shit, I would put money on the fact that what they're reading in them is themselves. That dark shit is the reader. It's not the cards. This ties into another question that I have received, which is tarot evil? And I think that this is also why some of the people, including myself, that read tarot start their journey in a broom closet. Now, tarot culture and spirituality culture and occult culture, it has definitely shifted. Now it's becoming like a pop culture phenomena. But once upon a time in my day, there were broom closets and you damn well lived in them, okay? And part of the reason why was because this stigma that was associated with tarot cards being evil, right? Now, whether that meant that you were like conjuring up devils or something like that, to be quite honest with you, I'm not really sure. But I also remember very, very like acutely feeling like I was going to be punished for reading them or knowing how to read them or even having some kind of interest in them. And I know that a lot of people, that when they start their journey, there is this feeling that you have to overcome of, am I doing something bad? Am I working with something of the devil? Am I working with something that is against the church? Tarot cards are not evil. We have to remember that they're just ink and paper. That's it. I can print out a tarot card on a regular sheet of a computer paper and a desktop printer. There is nothing inherently evil about the cards. Now, if you're worried about being evil, what you would get is the reader. You can get an evil reader, but the card itself is not evil, and it's not meant to be evil, and it doesn't have evil messages and evil meaning. No, you did not open up a portal into the unknown. No, okay, you're not like exorcising demons, okay, or calling them in. There is nothing evil about the card itself. It's just a product of the church, right? Because if you think about someone using tarot cards, and what you really get out of it is self-discovery, right? So if you're someone that's practiced in it, or if maybe you're new and you haven't had an opportunity to get there yet, but you're thinking about it, what you'll start to realize is that you start learning about yourself. It's a tool for self-discovery. In my opinion, that is something that can be very threatening to a church. That is something that can be very threatening to a government. That is something that can be threatening to anything or any institution that is in control. And it's easier to demonize something that you do not understand rather than actually taking the time out to learn about it. And the last question that I had wanted to address is whether or not tarot affects your fate. Does tarot decide your fate? And the reason why I say this is because a lot of people think that when you go to a reader and then you get the message that that's what it is. And sometimes you get messages that you don't really like, right? This is normal to get a message that you don't like. But tarot does not decide your fate. Tarot is actually showing you which direction that you're headed in based off of the decisions that you're making. In some cases, based off of your current energetic signature, your patterns of behavior. And so if you continue to do A, then you're going to get B as a natural result. And that is what it's showing you. However, if you see that B is something that you do not like, you have the responsibility and also the power and the control to change it. You can change your course of action. The issue that I think a lot of people have is that they live very fatalist lives, right? But there's a difference between fate and destiny. Fate happens to you, destiny is decided by you. So that's why when people feel like someone is talking about their fate, they feel like they're disempowered. Like, oh my God, I really don't like that. I don't want that to happen to me. So then don't let it happen to you. If I say something like, hey, homegirl, listen, these cards are showing X, Y, and Z, and based on your current pattern of behavior, this is where you're headed. And if you're like, Mr. Crane, I'm not really feeling that, then you are well within your power to change your mind. I don't run your life, I don't know your life, and I don't walk in your shoes. And again, tarot is just ink and paper. It doesn't have the power to run your life, know your life, or walk in your shoes. If you don't like something you hear from a reading, you are entitled to change it. Now, this does not mean that the reader was wrong. This means that the reader saw what they saw based on your current patterns of behavior and your current path, based on the current decisions that you have been making. But if you change your decisions, your future changes. So I know that was a quick one, but I'm going to wrap the video here. I thought it was a fun topic to quickly go over. If you like what you see, subscribe to this channel. And if we don't meet again, I'll see you next lifetime.